Emmitt is the greatest running back of all time.
I was amazed at what he could do from a vision standpoint and a balance standpoint.
Anything that I could do to try to put me on the same path as the greatest running back of all time, I was trying to do it.
These words of praise came from his teammates and even from the opponents who went toe-to-toe with him, the biggest and fiercest defensive players in the NFL. In football, players typically rely on brute strength or pure speed to overpower one another. But when facing Emmitt Smith, defenders experienced an entirely different sensation: absolute helplessness accompanied by deep respect. He didn't beat his opponents with lightning-fast runs. Instead, he slowly wore them down, play after play. That same script played out time and time again. Until finally, those defenders were left gasping for air, shaking their heads in sheer frustration, and accepting that all their efforts to stop him were completely futile. So, what exactly was the secret that allowed this player to force an entire generation of defensive legends to admit that Emmitt Smith was simply unstoppable? Let's take a closer look. Before 1990, the running back position in the NFL was an incredibly punishing position. Back then, the superstars at this position were typically divided into two completely opposing archetypes. The first was the speed specialist, represented by players like Barry Sanders and Eric Dickerson. They were like artists on the field, blessed with lightning-quick feet and the ability to cut and change direction so sharply that defenders were left dizzy. Give them an open lane and they would explode for easy scores. But the downside of this style was its fragility. Their relatively lighter frames made them highly vulnerable to serious injuries whenever they were caught and brought down by bigger defensive players. On the opposite end was the power-running archetype, exemplified by Christian Okoye. These players were big, muscular, and extremely direct in their approach. Their philosophy was simple: use sheer physical force to bulldoze anyone in their path. It sounds intimidating, but the human body isn't forged from steel. Colliding head-on like that might hurt the defender, but it often left himself just as battered. As a result, both styles shared the same fate: short career longevity. In the 1980s, carrying the ball over and over meant the knees and shoulders would wear down quickly. Even the brightest stars typically maintained peak performance for only about 4 to 6 years before their bodies gave out and they could no longer compete. At a time when the league had grown accustomed to those molds, a rookie named Emmitt Smith from the University of Florida arrived at the Dallas Cowboys. When scouts reviewed his profile, they were skeptical. At just 5 feet 9 inches, with an average 40-yard dash time, 4.7 seconds, and unremarkable muscle mass, Emmitt didn't look like a future superstar. In their eyes, he wasn't big enough to power through defenders, nor fast enough to outrun everyone. Yet beneath that modest exterior burned an intense ambition. His close teammate Daryl Johnston recalled the moment the rookie confidently stepped into the unforgiving NFL environment and boldly declared,
For Emmitt to walk into the NFL as a rookie and say, when I leave this game, I'm going to be the NFL's all-time leading rusher.
That confidence was far from empty talk, as Emmitt himself shared in an exclusive interview with ICMA about turning ambition into reality. It's only a dream until you write it down. Once you write a dream down, then it becomes a goal. After that, it's all about the execution. It takes a consistent, ongoing effort, the ability to adapt to change, and a self-belief that you wouldn't be denied your goals. If you asked veteran NFL defenders from that era what they feared most when facing Emmitt Smith, the answer would be attrition. Emmitt's playing style was built on a simple and brutally effective rhythm. The first carry gains 3 yards, the next pushes for 4, and the third grinds out another 3 to reach a first down. Then he would repeat that cycle over and over, about 25 times a game. That consistency slowly drained both the physical strength and the willpower of opposing defenses. One defender once described the helpless feeling of going up against him. You pour everything into a tackle, convinced you've stopped him dead at the line of scrimmage. But when you look again, he's still driving his legs, still inching forward, and somehow, he always falls forward. Trying to explain this seemingly impossible trait, legend Michael Irvin once said,
I don't know if he had 4 or 5 legs, because every time somebody hit him this way, it kind of stand him back up on this leg and hit him this way. And he always made progress.
Meanwhile, his teammate Daryl Johnston expressed his admiration for Emmitt's skill.
I was amazed at what he could do from a vision standpoint and a balance standpoint.
This ability to always fall forward wasn't luck. It was the perfect fusion of physicality and technique. In football, a lower center of gravity gives a player a major advantage in contact. Emmitt possessed an incredibly strong lower body, with powerful thighs and an almost unbelievably low center of gravity. Because of that, when defenders collided with him, instead of being knocked backward or losing balance, he would instantly curl into the contact. Using his own forward momentum, he could squeeze out 1 or 2 extra yards even as he was going down. To the average viewer, a single yard might seem insignificant. But in the high-stakes moments of the NFL, that 1 yard is often the line between being forced to punt and sustaining a drive that leads to points. That's what made Emmitt Smith so terrifying. He didn't need flashy 50-yard breakaway runs to break an opponent's spirit. Instead, he beat them with patience and endurance, methodically wearing down a defense like water slowly eroding the hardest rock. And by the time the game reached the decisive fourth quarter, when defenders' legs had grown heavy with exhaustion, Emmitt was still there, still taking handoffs, still grinding out those familiar 3-yard, 4-yard gains, calmly and relentlessly extinguishing any hope of a comeback. Another distinctive aspect of Emmitt Smith's approach was that while most running backs tried to avoid contact to preserve their bodies, Emmitt actively embraced and even sought out collisions. This choice created a paradoxical psychological dynamic in Dallas Cowboys games. In the first half, Emmitt often appeared to start slowly, sometimes getting repeatedly stopped and driven to the ground by the opposing defense. In those early moments, defenders would feel confident, believing they were in for an easy day. But by the fourth quarter, their smiles had completely vanished, replaced by hesitation, even reluctance whenever they had to step up and tackle number 22. The reason was simple. After 20 punishing collisions, the ones feeling battered and exhausted weren't Emmitt, but the very players who had tried to bring him down. Emphasizing this toughness, Johnston, a former fullback and teammate in Dallas, shared,
He can contort his body in a way where he regains his balance and is up and running. And I don't think he ever got enough credit for his toughness. He was a tough runner.
His seemingly endless stamina left opponents feeling helpless. On plays where he was forced toward the sideline, where most ball carriers would step out of bounds to safely end the run, Emmitt did the opposite. He would lower his shoulder and initiate a direct hit straight into the chest of defenders. By always being the one to generate force in those final moments of contact, he turned every run into a form of physical and psychological punishment. That relentless pressure gradually broke the will of opposing defenses in the most critical moments of the game. What made him even more special was his vision and game-reading ability, rivaling that of elite quarterbacks. Even before the snap, Emmitt's eyes would scan the entire defensive formation. If he spotted a linebacker leaning just a few centimeters off balance, his mind would instantly calculate that a gap would open on the opposite side within the next 2 seconds. While ordinary running backs simply reacted to obstacles in front of them, Emmitt moved proactively toward spaces that hadn't even appeared yet. He didn't need to be faster than his opponents because mentally, he was already one step ahead. If there were one single moment to fully define the unstoppable nature of Emmitt Smith, it would undoubtedly be the 1993 season finale when the Dallas Cowboys faced off against the New York Giants. This wasn't just a routine game, it was a do-or-die battle to determine the #1 seed in the playoffs. Right in the first half, disaster struck when Emmitt suffered a serious injury, a dislocated right shoulder after a brutal collision. The pain was excruciating, so severe that he couldn't even lift his arm, and the team doctors unanimously believed his game was over. And yet, what followed became legend. Ignoring all medical advice, Emmitt refused to sit out and watch his teammates fight on without him. He asked the medical staff to tape his injured shoulder tightly, strapping it against his body, and then he walked back onto the field. What came next was nothing short of an epic of human endurance. Forced to play with essentially one functional arm, Emmitt had to adapt on the fly, switching the ball to his left hand and using his injured shoulder as a shield to absorb hits. The Giants' notorious defenders knew exactly where he was hurt, and in the brutal environment of the NFL, they didn't hesitate to target that very spot to crush Dallas's hopes. They charged at him, hammering that shoulder with everything they had. But what left them in disbelief was that Emmitt simply refused to go down. He kept running, kept driving forward, kept bulldozing through tacklers and grinding out precious yards. Watching his relentless runs unfold, the live commentator at the time couldn't hide his astonishment.
Emmitt's hurting. You can tell that. but he's still very effective.
Yeah, he doesn't have the upper body. He's having a tough time playing with his upper body because of that shoulder injury, but he still has that power down below. I mean, this is a guy that can make moves and do all things.
By the end of the game, the stat sheet displayed numbers that seemed almost unreal for a player competing with one arm. 168 rushing yards, 10 receptions, a total of 229 yards from scrimmage, and the game-winning touchdown. That extraordinary performance, delivered through unimaginable pain, moved legendary commentator John Madden to say to his colleague Pat Summerall,
Yeah, I think, Pat, of all the games we've done together over the years, I don't know that we've ever seen two running backs have a better day and a tougher day. I mean, look at Emmitt Smith, 30 rushes, 168 yards.
That game changed history's perspective entirely, proving to the world that the most terrifying strength of Emmitt Smith wasn't his muscles or his speed, but an unbreakable will that could never be denied. Of course, when discussing the success of Emmitt Smith, we can't ignore one of the most classic debates. Was Emmitt Smith truly great? Or did he simply benefit from playing behind an all-time dominant offensive line? Indeed, the Dallas Cowboys of the 1990s boasted a historic offensive line, featuring giants like Larry Allen and Nate Newton, along with an exceptional lead-blocking fullback in Darryl Johnston. Together, they could bulldoze through virtually any obstacle. Emmitt himself never denied this. In fact, he consistently expressed deep appreciation for them. Anytime you can share the spotlight and recognition with your teammates, especially the linemen who are opening holes for you up front, you should do so. My relationship with my O-line and Darryl was of the utmost importance to me. And yet, NFL history has seen countless running backs play behind elite offensive lines. So why is it that only Emmitt reached the record of 18,355 rushing yards? The answer lies in his masterful patience. When compared to a contemporary legend like Barry Sanders, the contrast becomes even clearer. Barry was an artist capable of dazzling the crowd with runs that lost 10 yards before suddenly reversing direction into a breathtaking 50-yard gain. Emmitt, on the other hand, embodied certainty. He almost never cost his team unnecessary negative yardage. From a head coach's perspective, that cold consistency was invaluable, allowing a team to fully control the game rather than relying on unpredictable flashes of brilliance. When Emmitt Smith finally retired, he left behind a legacy so immense that many believe it may stand forever. 18,355 rushing yards. In a brutal sport where a single mistimed hit can end a career, maintaining elite performance for 15 seasons is nothing short of a physical miracle. Looking back on the career of number 22, Emmitt Smith stands as the ultimate proof of one truth. In elite sports, intelligence and resilience can overcome physical limitations. But his story also leaves today's audience with a fascinating question. Imagine placing peak Emmitt Smith into the modern NFL. Would his methodical, grinded-out, yard-by-yard style still thrive? Share your thoughts in the comments below.